Anybody who's a clinical provider, remember that you have a superpower, the knowledge that so many entrepreneurs, so many people in our industry do not. And that's your key to success, because I can tell you that I have so many practices calling me that hire marketing companies, and they're like, oh, we just wasted X amount of money because they had no idea how to talk to patients. If you get sick and you can't go to the emergency room, or if you can't go to your PCP, you're stuck right now. And there is a way that you tell people and educate them so they come to the practice, compared to you just doing this freebie marketing, which a clothing store would do. I always kind of like to go back to a simple fact of saying, what do I enjoy doing? And then use that and convert that into my strength, because then that means that every morning when I wake up, I'm going to be happy about what I'm doing and I care about it enough.
Get ready for your unofficial dental hygiene podcast. These are the tales of two hygienists, one East Coast RDH and one West Coast hygienist. Listen as they tackle the profession of dental hygiene with humor and enthusiasm. Now, please join Michelle Strange and Andrew Johnston as they tell you a tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists, episode number 251. My name is Andrew.
And this is Michelle. Welcome back to the podcast. Okay, so today I was creating a program all about saving teeth and the natural dentition. So, of course, I've kind of been deep diving into, some old stuff. Like I pulled out my old periodontal book or periodontal maintenance book, periodontology book, an old ultrasonic book, and then also kind of doing some deep dives and new research, right?
Okay.
This might get into one of our infamous battles.
Okay. I'm already gearing up. I can already feel like my teeth clenching because I'm just waiting for this bomb to drop.
Okay. But recently you asked if I was still, I'm going to say it how I heard it.
That's okay. Thank you for saying that. Thanks you for clarifying. And then I'll tell what really happened. Go ahead.
Like, you still believe in that whole, like, not needing to floss bullshit? That's what I heard you say.
Wait, what?
Do you remember there was a time, it's only been a few months, where you're like, you're really still on that whole message of, like, not everybody needs to floss? You're not flossing a lot of patients?
Like, I said that to you?
Yes. Obviously.
Gosh, I don't remember. We talked about so many things, but I'm sure. Okay, continue on.
Well, of course, I'm just like deep diving into the information and
hold on. I'm sorry, audience. I'm sorry, everyone. I do understand, but I don't think that is exactly the context. But I think it was more about caries, right? I was looking in something about caries that might have been around the conversation. Yeah. I think it was specifically about preventing caries right at the contact. Remember, because you were telling me about the bristles kind of get up into the contact. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. I'm on the same page now. Thank you.
Okay. Well, today I was kind of going through all of the research in my periodontal book, which is years old, was like, yeah, floss is not the best option. I was like, gosh, it just amazes me that hasn't swept the industry. Because if I still, listen, I love my t-shirt makers. Y'all are the best. But if I see Floss is Boss on another damn shirt, I just can't take it anymore.
Wow.
That's where I'm at. I'm sorry. I've been there for a while, though.
I was going to say, like, are we going back to episode number 30 when he talked about this? Because I feel like this is
great cardio debate.
Of all of the things that we could have talked about at the intro of this dental podcast, this is what you're going to bring up.
I'm just saying, it's been on my mind today as I'm like reading through all the biofilm management options for in office and at home. How do we really get to what causes the disease? And I mean, also, I would get on the soapbox. I've got we put too much weight on scalers as well.
Sure.
So I don't know. That's just what's in my head. This is where you've caught me. We decided to record while I'm in that mode.
Andrew, do you have anything that you want to talk about? You usually ask me that. And I'm like, no. But now I have two things. I'm like,
okay.
But okay. They're along the same lines, right? So you've been on this little soapbox of flossing is crap, blah, 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 for a long time.
Not crap, just not for everyone.
Right.
By everyone, I mean most people.
Yes. Okay. So this is going to come off as a little bit boastful / arrogant, because we have been, as a podcast team, not ahead of the curve, but like right at the beginning of a lot of these types of changes in philosophy and thoughts.
Not necessarily early adopters, but definitely on the cusp.
Right. For sure. And we have been talking about aerosols for how long now? Forever, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the funny thing is I was actually just last weekend uploading a bunch of videos. I don't know if you actually watched any of those videos I uploaded to Facebook Messenger to you and Brittany that you don't, I knew you
didn't.
But it was actually for when we were in the Dominican Republic and Adolfo was there, and it was for new bird suction. I did a bunch of videos for that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I did this little rant about how this aerosolization is not being addressed and no one's talking about it, but really that is the problem.
Look at that.
And that was what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh man, way to go us as a team. Further, everyone go back and listen to episode number 209.
Oh, is this the one that Eden brought up?
Yes. I'm surprised that you didn't lead with this one in our last week's episode. So I happened to be speaking with Eden from Mouthwatch, and she's like, Andrew, I don't really have a lot of time to talk, but I need you to go back and I need you to go listen to your intro from 209. And I'm like, oh crap, what did I say? That was so wrong, because that was whatever. She's like, do you even know what you say? I'm like, I don't remember anything. Like, we just get on here, we start riffing, and this is what it is. So 2009, I don't know where that came from. 2020. It was the first episode of 2020. Michelle says, gee, Andrew, I'm so happy that we're in this new year, this new decade. It's going to be so awesome, blah, blah, blah. You said those words.
Yes.
And then I said, well, it's funny because every time it's 20s, 1820, 1920, now 2020, some giant thing comes out and wipes out civilizations. And look what happened. I didn't wipe out civilization, but I mean, everything got shut down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had over 200,000 deaths in the US. Like, that's pretty significant.
It's significant, sure.
With modern medicine and all the things, like,
Look, again, significant.
If Ebola didn't get us.
It didn't wipe us out, though. It didn't wipe us. Anyways, I just thought,
yet.
Look at us being on the cusp of everything that's happening. We're such a good podcast to listen to, Michelle. Like, everyone should listen to us.
Is that being astute or fortuitous? I don't know.
Well, it's not fortuitous that we are right about that particular one, but
yeah, I know.
But yeah, so I don't know. Everyone should tell their friends. Listen to us. We know some stuff on occasion.
On occasion.
I wonder how many examples though people have of all the bullcrap that we've said that did not come true.
Oh, well, we said last week in the podcast how much we've already learned. Like, even though I did start this off with like, you're giving me crap about, still not being a real big fan of flossing. I feel like we have grown so much as clinicians. So much. Even just like, as I'm going through this, like I said, I'm creating this program that's all based on saving natural teeth. And, my program choice in the last few years has been implant maintenance. And I've been talking about implants, but I keep saying like, I don't want to talk about keeping natural teeth. I really do think when we extract teeth, it's amputation. And like, we are doing surgery on teeth as if it's not a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
And just going through, like I said, the perio book and the ultrasonic book and looking at the research and just thinking about where I was when I was full-time private practice, perio practice, probably 6-7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
God, everything I do is so different now. It's so different.
Yeah.
But I do hate that I'm back at like hand scaling and polishing. God, that's.
I know. Well, I think that's an interesting point though, too, is about like this. We have noticed throughout the, different generations and centuries and decades and all these different things that when something like this happens, this pandemic specifically, and we have to reevaluate ourselves and how we do our day to day, I feel like there's usually a lot of opportunity for growth though, too. So I'm really hoping that, I know you hate hand scaling. We've talked about this off air many times about how much.
I'm really good at it. Let me just make note of that. I don't hate it because I suck at it.
Right. But because the upside, the benefit of health is, you're limited by what you can do.
Right.
And so I think though that we get the opportunity now to put our analytical brains on, and maybe we're going to start like doing things differently once things get a little bit figured out. I hope.
I hope. And, honestly, and I've said this on some webinars, I've said this on some like video chats for like interviews and stuff like that out there. And everyone's like, yeah, it was wishful thinking, Michelle. Like, this ain't the time to be forcing major paradigm shifts when people are like, can't afford to like feed themselves. And I'm like, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I understand completely. But I really hate that this didn't move the needle in at-home biofilm management, and like how we could have seized the opportunity to like do these teledentistry calls and discuss people, like how important, like, just kind of, even if you didn't charge out for it, just as like a, hey, this is your dentist and your hygienist. And we're like, we're worried about everybody's safety, but we also really want to make sure that like, it's the pandemic. Like all of a sudden, like we haven't changed in 3 days because we've been doing the same thing. We can't leave our house, but like, hey, oral health still matters. You might've fallen off the wagon a little bit. Do you want to review brushing technique? Do you want to show me how you brush? Like, remember like go into the chart and like put all the notes you talk about. Like, hey, last time you struggled with that bottom front teeth with calculus. I just want to make sure that that's not going to be the thing that we have to deal with when you come back. And we know that there was already a cavity there, but we really want to control the pH, watch the wine, watch the coffee, like all those things. Right. And there were some people doing it. But I really feel like, God, what amazing time to really, really talk to our patients about their accountability and responsibilities in their disease, because we weren't accessible then, right?
Right.
And I don't know, just I wish there was more of that. And I wish there was more of like, okay, so we're not doing aerosol generating procedures. What else can we do? Could we do silver diamine fluoride? Could we do airway assessment? Could we just do intraoral picture? I mean, anything, oral cancer screenings, all of the things that is so important for oral health, sleep, assessments, everything, especially in this stressful time, and had those conversations. But it's still just been like, when am I putting an ultrasonic in the mouth? Like, I can't wait to do that. I can't do it. And I'm like, oh, I'm missing so many great opportunities right now.
I feel like the biggest obstacle to what you're talking about, though, is we always talk about the access to care, but it's in reverse in this particular one. It's how do we access the individuals that are looking for us? Mm-hmm. Because I think, not that my brain goes other places when you start talking, but sometimes they do. And I had this one little like, oh my gosh. And I know you'd hate this title, but it was like Brushing with Michelle would be like the name of an app. So they download the app, and then every day they have access to you as but it's not individualized enough, so you couldn't really get what you wanted, but you could show them, the proper way of doing. Let's start off with brushing, but then we introduce little things here and there. Okay, for you people that have this, stick out your tongue. This is what you're looking for, like doing their own assessments. Like just sprinkling that in on the app every day or whatever. I mean,
I love that.
Quite a commitment.
Well, what's interesting is that I have started using Teledent in my private practice where I'm at. It's a general practice, and there is a patient portal now. So I'm taking intraoral pictures and uploading it. And I've done it both ways, where I've had the patient use their phone and video while I show them how to manage their mouth. But now I'm doing the webcam and uploading it into their patient portal. And then I could put like something on my calendar and say like, just shoot them a message in the patient portal and say, wanted to remind you, review the video, make sure you're brushing by the tongue where you were struggling last time. And they can just go in there and they can see their own video in their own mouth and hear my instructions with them. And, because I'm very hands-on. I mean, we've talked about this too, where I set patients up and I have them brush their teeth. I'm like, so this is where that purple was. Let's see you get down there. And then I make adjustments with their wrist and where the position of the handle is, compared to where their trouble spot is. And I mean, you can record all of that and put that in the patient portal.
Love it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyhow, this is a long intro. But actually all of the things that we've been talking about, it could be marketing for your practice. And that's what we're kind of talking about with Minal Sampat today. She says something really wonderful that I've been kind of thinking about since she said it, which was like, as clinicians, we have superpowers when it comes to being a marketing person, because we have the inside track. We have the verbiage, we have the words, we have the way that we would say something to a patient that feels very native to like the patient when they read the marketing, I don't know, Facebook post or whatever, the newsletter, and it's not the marketing person trying to sound like a hygienist or an assistant or a dentist,
Right.
but we have that superpower and that we really should use it. So we talk a lot about different ways that you can create profit centers or use what you have in the app, maybe take it out of the app, all kinds of stuff. So this will be the end of our series on being an entrepreneur and using your leadership skills and all the amazing experience and knowledge you have as a dental clinician. Hopefully it is making you excited to be in the op. And not that I'm trying to shame anybody for getting out of the op. And I say that in the episode.
Thank you very much.
Because that's, I know, except for Andrew. I want to shame only Andrew for getting out of the op. But if you choose to get out of the op, no problem. But if you're getting out of the op because you're burned out or you just haven't been fed in any way, like you're just in the monotony of it, which kind of gets boring and old, and you need something to like rekindle that fire, just know that you probably already have it and you just need to identify it and jump on it. So enjoy this episode with Minal Sampat.
Hey, Michelle.
Yeah.
It's time for the interview.
Oh, but I had something else to say.
We need to let the experts talk now.
Fine.
Well, everyone, welcome to the interview portion of the podcast. Excited for you to be joining us again. And as we continue with this series, that's just kind of all about being an entrepreneur, even when you maybe don't want to start a business, but you can maybe be creative and use your amazing knowledge that you have in the industry and the op. And if you want to get out of the op, that ain't a wrong thing either. But like, how can we do this and really grab our leadership skills by the horns and make a change in our practice and in our lives? And I am really super excited to finally have Minal Sampat on the podcast. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this, because I am in the marketing space. People don't realize I'm also a hygienist. So this is really fun for me because I'm kind of coming back to everything where I started, so this is really exciting. Thank you for having me.
No, this is great. And actually, I feel very, I think it was just about a year ago that I met you at the Do Life retreat.
Yeah, just about. Yes, it was last year, November.
Yeah. Coming up on that, where we were kind of discussing a lot of our strengths and kind of like leaning in and embracing the things that we're just naturally great at. So tell us how your journey worked. Like, so if you were a hygienist, what you doing in marketing?
Well, it was funny because I was in marketing first. And then I went to hygiene. So it's a little bit weird, but no, I went to Rutgers University. So, I was born in India. I grew up in the Virgin Islands. And then I went to college at Rutgers in New Jersey. And I was a part of the pre-dental club. So I was thinking to go into dentistry. And as a part of being in the pre-dental club, you had to shadow dental practice. It was a requirement. So this was 2006. It was funny because I remember like faxing my resume. Who faxes anymore, right? But I remember.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like faxing my resume, trying to shadow someplace. And I didn't have a car or anything because once again, my home was in the Virgin Islands. And this wonderful practice said, hey, why don't you come and shadow us? And it was a pedo-ortho practice, huge, 25,000 patients, 60 team members, this great practice. And I said, sure, I'll come shadow you guys. And then when I was leaving, they offered me a job. But I was already working in college and, doing all this stuff, so I couldn't take it. But then I had the wonderful pleasure of graduating in 2008.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Enough said. Yeah. So 2008, I mean, any of us that were practicing in 2008, I mean, it's a visceral feeling when you say 2008.
And it was just like, how do I even find a job straight out of college? And here I was, I didn't apply to dental schools. Like my folder was ready. I didn't apply because I wanted to do something else as well. So here I am going, what is wrong with me? It's like, come on, I should have just, done something. But I happened to call this practice and said, hey, remember me? I shouted you guys, X, Y, and Z, remember me, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, we're not hiring right now. It's 2008, but why don't you come in at this time? And it was their lunch hour. I knew that. So I'm like, great, I'll just go and, network with the doctors, have some lunch. Well, I show up and the next thing I know is they're interviewing me. And the owner of the practice comes in and he's like, I have no idea what you're going to do here, but we like you. We like your personality. We like you. So we're just going to hire you and we'll train you in all the different departments and then we'll see where you fit in. So I pretty much did everything, including assisting in the lab, the clinical stuff, clearly not hygiene or practicing treatment or anything like that. Yeah, but that's when I took over their marketing and I was doing all the marketing stuff. And this was interesting because as I was doing marketing and we were seeing good results, the one thing that I realized was that if I was not a clinical care provider, there is no way for me to truly connect with the patient base in marketing. So there's a different kind of messaging when it happens when you are a clinical care provider in your marketing and when you are not. And it's very obvious. The sales,
Yes,
the promotions, the marketing, does not convert because you're not a clinical care provider. You are not looking at the patient's needs and wants and what is going to actually have them a healthy life. You're just trying to look at sales. And that's actually, funnily enough, I went to hygiene school. So I applied last minute. I got in. I went to hygiene school, and then I practiced hygiene since I got my license in 2011 to 2017. And the only reason I'm not practicing here right now is because I have a license in the Northeast, and I live right now I'm all the way in the Northwest in Washington State, and I can't practice here unless I redo everything. So, but I miss it every day. But anybody who's a clinical care provider, remember that you have a superpower, the knowledge that so many entrepreneurs, so many people in our industry do not. And that's your key to success, because I can tell you that I have so many practices calling me that hire marketing companies, and they're like, oh, we just wasted X amount of money because they had no idea how to talk to patients.
and we're such a niche industry, right? Like we're not like healthcare. We're not like really anything else out there. And even from a podcasting standpoint, like there is nothing. So when people like look at podcasts as a whole, I'm like, dentistry is this little circle out in the wild, wild west. Like you can't compare it's apples to oranges, excuse me. And I feel like when I left clinical and went working in the corporate world, part of my job was to read the marketing material to make sure it sounded like something I would say to a patient. And I have never battled more in my life like I have with the marketing team.
So you understand, it's real. It's so true. It's so true. Yeah.
Now, I will say I learned a ton. I learned so much about the words that I use even in patient care. So it was very bidirectional as far as the things that I learned, but I also learned that sometimes when I read a lot of things, there are very specific words and phrases and terms that are used to kind of trigger this reflex in the consumer. And as a healthcare provider, it was a real big struggle for me because I was like, this is not fair. They're like, it's a toothbrush. I'm like, no, this is managing people's diseases at home. Like this is not just a toothbrush. And so I think you're so on the nose when you say like clinicians have such a superpower, as you put it, in the industry, especially with marketing, because we know the terminology, we know how patients react to things, we know the things that we would never say. So we have that superpower. I love the way you put that.
And it's so interesting because, like I said, so from that time on, even though I had my company, my first marketing company I launched in 2013, I was practicing hygiene and working outside of hygiene, outside the op, as we say, right? But here's the thing, because I was at least doing 1 or 2 clinical days a week, I was on average doing 2 clinical full days a week. That's really what even attracted clients to me. And even just like yesterday, I did a speaking engagement, a virtual one for a study club. And they found me because they saw me listed online on one of the dental speakers thing. And they said they reached out to me because they saw that I'm a hygienist who's also talking about marketing. And people don't realize this, but clinicians want other clinicians to come and talk to them. Because, we are not going to come in and talk about, let's go ahead and do a freebie of everything. We're going to give you a free vacation and a free toothbrush and a free this and free that. Like my Facebook page, like, dude, what are you? You are a healthcare provider. Are you serious right now? Like that's the marketing you're telling them to do instead of actually educating them and teaching them and telling your patients what's important and what's not. Like so many practices right now, especially during the COVID pause, I see are just in this zone of just giving stuff away. Like, we'll give you a gift card if you come to the practice. We'll do this if you come to the practice. And it's like, well, clearly you don't have somebody who's a clinician who's doing that or discussing this with you, because I would never do that. I would always focus on the overall health that starts with your oral health. I would always focus on saying that right now, more than ever, you need to be healthy. And if you want to be healthy, you have to go to your dental, whether it's a treatment, whether it's a recare appointment, you have to do this, because if you get sick and you can't go to the emergency room, or if you can't go to your PCP, you're stuck right now. And there is a way that you tell people and educate them so they come to the practice, compared to you just doing this freebie marketing, which a clothing store would do. It's very different. And when you devalue who you are as a healthcare provider, then so will your patients. And that's why they no-show, and that's why they cancel.
So true. And that definitely brings up something with when I practiced with a dentist who challenged my morals and frustrated me with the lack of scruples they showed. But what they were good at was making the patients think they could not go anywhere else. They would never get the care and the love and just the type of dentistry from anyone else. And I was like, man. And it was almost frustrating, because then he created this little high level so when associates would come in, the patient's like, I'm only seeing that. I'm like, I get it. Like and then he'd be upset about it. I'm like, you did this to yourself, buddy. Like, but it was so true. Like, he created that loyalty, that following based upon the care that he was giving, or at least perceived care that he was giving to the patients.
And even as us, right, like hygienists, we can do so much of this. So for example, something that I used to do quite a bit was when I would be in the hygiene chair, and let's say I have Mrs. Smith talking about how amazing the appointment went and how much they love coming to it. I was not shy. I would ask Mrs. Smith, and I would say, Mrs. Smith, you know what? Thank you so much for all those compliments. It's absolutely incredible to hear that, you love coming to us and you enjoyed your appointment today. Would you mind doing me a favor? The doctors here, the management team, they absolutely love looking at reviews. Would you mind writing a review? You will get a text, we'll get an email. Would you mind writing a review and mentioning my name? And just say, hey, we had an appointment with Minal today. It was really well. We loved X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. And then I will end with saying, I'm so looking forward to reading that tomorrow. So in a way, what you're doing now, and then what I would do is I would actually print out all these reviews that I was getting as well, and I would have a folder. So when you would have depending on what kind of practice you're working at, but hopefully every practice has that, but they do team meetings and team evaluations and things like that. I'll bring it up and I'll say, okay, so here are the patients who absolutely love me, or here are the feedback we're getting. This is how I'm doing it. And now in the management teams, the doctor's eyes, also you are irreplaceable in a way, because you are somebody who patients absolutely love as well. So there is a way for you to use marketing and your knowledge to also benefit yourself personally, as well as obviously helping the practice. Because I think that being an entrepreneur is only successful if you can clearly relate to your audience. And without that clarity, it's all just noise and buzzwords, and nobody cares of noise and buzzwords, So I would even offer, if we do have people here who want to get out of the op, right now is a great time. Right now, because of the COVID pause, because of everything going on, I don't know when this is going to come out, but we are probably still going to be in an unstable environment given just the pandemic. I would say that list down your strengths outside of clinical. So perhaps you have a strength, and I'm just going to give you some ideas. Let's say that you have a strength where you are super creative. Okay, so you love to make baskets and you have a Pinterest board, and you're somebody who just is super creative. You're the person that everybody calls for baby showers and, bridal showers and making the cakes and the decorations. Like, call this person, they're so amazing. Take that and then go to the management team or whatever and say, listen, I'm really good at this. Here are some photos of the events I have done. Here are some things that I'm really good at. I want to start becoming a part of the marketing team. And here's how I can help, whether that's us making raffle baskets, or whether that's us throwing events for our referral providers, or whether that's us doing lunch and learns or team meetings or whatever it is. I want to start getting involved. And I would need X amount of time outside of the op to do this. And here's the value that I bring to you. And in comparison, let's say you have somebody who is literally on Instagram all day long. Let's be honest. Some of us are on there all day long. Some of us are all in our Facebook groups all day long, talking and chatting. And so we all know how this works. If that's your superpower, if that's something you enjoy, make that into a skill and then offer it. And if you don't want to work for the dental practice, it's a side hustle. That's how I started. If you're good at something, make it into a side hustle, put it out there and say, guys, this is what I'm doing. If you know anybody who needs this service, please let me know. And you start slowly trying to manage it both ways. But like I said, right now in my life, I totally miss the clinical days. It's 3 years and I can't practice because I don't have the license. And we didn't know we were going to be here for 3 years. We came here for 3 months. And here we are 3 years later. And now I just found out that my husband's a physician, and that's why we came here. Because of COVID, it seems like we're going to be here for longer, for a couple more years. So now I'm actually looking into probably getting my license to start working in Washington State. But it's so good to have both. The balance of both is kind of the best world.
That's so true. And you're bringing up a lot of great points that I brought up actually with Ann Duffy on her podcast, and also with Jasmine Haley, that is the week before you. And I feel like there are so many things that we have this propensity to be very good at, and it just comes very natural. And if you do take something like the Strength Finders 2.0 and find out your strengths, if you are an Instagram wizard because you're just on it all the time, like bring that to the practice. In fact, just today I was at a practice or a mobile van, and I mentioned, I was talking to them about infection control and stuff and how to make that happen. And the doctor I was with was like, oh, but she's so good at Instagram. They're like, oh, would you do that like for us too? And I was like, I mean, if I'm already there, why not? Why not? And, take some classes, do some continuing education around that. I also think on some things I was tossing around, talking to your practice about like sleep. Like, how can you put sleep medicine and myofunctional therapy? How can you integrate, like, if they're closed on Fridays, maybe you open up a myofunctional center on Fridays and see the patients that are there in the practice. There's just so many things. If you just kind of think outside of the box, that it's not scalar to tooth, and that's the only way we can make money and use our skills.
Absolutely not. And the one thing that I think a lot of us get stuck on is this idea that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know how to do it. What if I make a mistake? And here's the truth, guys. Can I curse in this show? Is it totally okay?
It's explicit because I curse that.
All right. So I'm gonna share a story with you guys because it's right now we're recording. This is October. It's going to be Halloween soon. So, when I first started, like I said, I was working in a dental practice, and I took over their marketing. And I remember putting together the buy back candy campaign. When the kids bring the candy and you get money in return, you donate the candy. It's very popular. So I came up with this beautiful newsletter, and I sent it out to the entire patient base. So 7,000 moms, pretty much, right? And then it was a Friday evening, and on Saturday I get an email back saying there's a huge typo in your email. So I'm like, holy crap, what's this typo? What's going on here, right? So I look at the typo, and literally I have a panic attack because I'm like, I don't even know how this happened. This is not right. So I frantically call the office manager, and she's so funny. She's like, well, you just started the newsletter. Nobody's going to even read it. Don't worry about it. She's trying to play it down for me because she knows I was like super frantic about it. And I'm like, okay, no, this is really bad. So she's like, just, on Monday, we'll talk to the docs. We'll take care of it. Monday comes around, and I'm literally shaking because the office is getting calls right at this point. And the doctor, oh yeah. So the doctor comes in, and he parks his car, and I'm outside in the parking lot. That's how like frantic I am. And I'm like, okay, I have to talk to you. He's like, all right, let's go talk. I go into his office, I close the door, and I provide him 2 pieces of paper. And there was one word highlighted in both the pieces of paper. You see, what was supposed to go out was, don't worry, we will ship toothbrushes along with the candy to the troops. What went out was, don't worry, we will ship toothbrushes along with the candy to the troops. And this went out to 7,000 moms And the emails we were getting was, how do I shit toothbrush? How do I invest in shitting toothbrushes? What is going on here? This is when I knew I was going to get fired.
At least they were having fun with it.
Well, I'm like, I don't even know how this happened. P and T are not even next to each other on the keyboard. Like, how does this even? So I am here shaking. I'm here like ready to get fired. I'm here ready to get fired because he's like, okay. And I'm like, okay, I got this. I'm going to get fired. So this doctor, he's an Irishman. He turns super red. He has tears coming down his eyes and he falls off the chair because he's laughing so hard. He's like, I know, I read it on Saturday. And, he was cracking up laughing and they were all having a joke on me. So I'm like, hold on, I'm not fired. He's like, no, figure this out. See how we are going to do this. So then he's like, just figure it out. Like, see how we can damage control this. Because nobody was complaining. We didn't get one email complaining about it. They were just, when you make a mistake, everybody points it out. So we had a lot of stuff. Oh, you have a typo, you have a typo, you have a typo. And then a lot of hilarious comments coming in about how do you invest in shitting toothbrushes and things like that happening. Well, so I send out another email to the same 7,000 moms. And in the email, I wrote down, we apologize for the typo in our previous email. Sometimes our team members go above and beyond the call of duty. And I put that in quotation marks.
Nicely done.
And send that out, right? And the newsletter open rate went up by 16%. Until today, that practice gets emails during Halloween time asking them, are we going to learn about shitting toothbrushes, from patients? So anybody who's out there who is questioning things, I did that to 7,000 moms, and people now pay me to speak on a stage and to do their marketing. So, hey, if I can go from shitting toothbrushes to being mentioned in Forbes and having a best-selling book, dude, you got this. You could do anything.
You got this.
You got this.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's something that I would do. And also, this is probably before autocorrect, where most of the time I try to say shit and it's making me say ship and not the other way. Oh, but the anxiety, I can feel your anxiety when you screw something up and you're like, oh my gosh, I'll never be able to come back from this. But you got to take the chance, right? Like you kind of stepped out there on the plank and you didn't get thrown into the ocean.
Listen, and you know what? Even if you got thrown into the ocean, what's the worst that's going to happen, right? So I think we lose, isn't there a quote like we lose 100% of the chances we don't take?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just one of those things where we just have to take a chance and we just have to see, like I said, I was supposed to be here for 3 months and we're here 3 years later. You never know what life throws at you. You never know how things are going to be, where you're living, what you're doing. But the only thing you can control are the choices you make. And sometimes it's very beneficial for you to just make that choice. If you're unhappy or if you want to try something or balance it out, why not? And I think we are such a good industry. Like, hi, Jasmine and Duffy, myself, you, Michelle, like there's so many people in our industry. If you need any kind of if you just want to collaborate or get experience feedback, like I think we have a very good supporting system here. We're just send one of us a message. I can guarantee that none of us are bitches. And if we are, then you would already know and you won't be reaching out anyway. So
yeah, I think a lot of us, especially the ones that you mentioned, are very authentic, very genuine. We all have bad days. So if you did catch us on a bad day, please know that we probably aren't the worst people on the planet. But I'd like the point that you're making. And I think that that's something that we're either all hyper focused on or we're digging our own grave in, is the perception and not being able to pivot in this very difficult year that we are all experiencing, right? Like now, granted, different levels, people are really struggling and some people are soaring, but it's been a hard one with a lot of transition. If you aren't being fluid in that or just ready to just transform yourself, I should say. But what I keep trying to tell people, getting out of the op, there's nothing wrong with it. You've got out of the op. I got out of the op. I went running back after a year. And I think you would have too, if you could get that license, right? I think we all have a real love for that patient care. So getting out of the op isn't the worst thing in the world. But what I think is, like, if you started off with this passion for patient care, the passion for the science, the passion for the industry, and certain events, certain offices, certain people kind of crushed your spirit. And we've all probably been through that, been there, done that. Just remembering how valuable your experiences are, because as you started this podcast with like marketing people, they need us. They need us. And you can be very creative and use your knowledge and your passion and just find a way to reignite that love for what we do in this profession. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. I don't think there's such thing as a bad experience. I think it's just experience. You know, whether you come out of it drinking a glass of wine or whether you come out of it and you need to go immediately to shop so you can just feel better about yourself, whatever it is. I don't believe in bad experiences in a way. I just kind of believe it's an experience, whatever that's going to be. And I can tell you that if you do get a bad experience or if you do, I'll share something that I don't really share about my personal life at all, tend to online, but I can share that, you know, my husband, like I said, he's a physician, and the schools, the universities that he has gone to are very extreme in patient care. You know, he's been on the floor with some of the most tough cases. And right now he's been fighting in the pandemic on the front lines this whole time. But the reason he is able to manage that and the reason he's able to keep going and, you know, the hospital keeps wanting to have him is because he had those experiences. He has had experiences with dealing with things that on normal days you don't deal with. And again, another cliche, what doesn't break you makes you stronger kind of thing. If you have something of an experience that is not normal, that's almost a jewel, you know, in your crown, because that means that you know how to deal with it, or you have felt it before, you have gone through it before. So now you know how to move forward. You are not shocked by it. It doesn't threaten you. So I would actually take that experience, like I said, and make it into a jewel and say, that's what it is. If that happens to me again, or if somebody else is going through it, I know what to do.
That's a great point. Yeah. And I definitely have the tendency to be a little on the pessimistic side, to think that it's a bad experience. And I like the perspective and the reminder that they are experiences, like, and it's really our perception of the experience that would make it good or bad or form you. And you take it as a jewel and you put it in your crown and you keep on keeping on, right?
Keep on doing you, man. You're the queen. So you got this. Like I said, it's, you know, when I started my company, I was in my 20s, and it was really hard to be taken seriously with people. I mean, clearly that's to come with it. You know, you're in your 20s, like, what does a 20-year-old girl, you know about marketing, and how is she going to help me? You know, so it was hard enough to put yourself out there as a credible source, but it's harder for people to sign up and take you seriously. And, you know, I kind of went through that, and there are experiences that I have had where, you know, I wanted to directly go and buy a pair of shoes to make myself feel better. And I did that, and I had to do that. And you know what? I have 5 pairs of boots in 1 week because I just had to do it, and I dealt with it and I moved on. But I think that's the part where we kind of have to find strength in ourselves and say, is what I'm doing worth it? Is what I'm doing going to make me happy? Is it going to help people that I want to help? And if that is strong enough, I think that you will always find it in yourself to kind of keep moving on and pivoting and trying different things. We are our own cheerleaders, right? We are our loudest cheerleaders, and we are our own worst enemies. We can tell ourselves whatever we want so we can feel a certain way. And sometimes it just helps for you to seriously, but the other day I had to wear heels and do dishes because I haven't worn heels in 8 months since I haven't traveled. And I was just missing the crap out of that. So I literally wore heels and I washed my dishes because I could do that. And I was happy about that, and it made me feel better. So yeah, take those chances and find that joy that, you know, you can find in places that allows you to grow as a person. This is becoming way too philosophical right now, probably because I was in a workout when I tried to do this, but
No, this is great, because my coach will tell me, you know, or she would say what you just said, as like making sure you always have your own back and finding a way to be okay with it. So like, even sometimes when I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know. I did this. I don't know if that was the right decision. She's like, how do you feel about it? I'm like, I'm all right with it. And just from the construct of others, society or community or whatever, I feel like maybe that wasn't the right decision. She's like, do you feel good about it? It's all about having your own back. And if you're going to show up with like, I'm okay with it, I'll take the brunt of it if it wasn't a great decision, but also just become comforted by knowing that I'll be all right. and not to beat myself up either.
And I think it's just kind of harder, especially for women, because we do have this tendencies where we judge each other much harsher than we should. And
oh, girl, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
We are the first ones to point out the mistakes. We are the first one to chuckle. Ooh, look at her dress. Ooh, those shoes don't match. Oh, look at her hair, And I think those days of that catting call, of that, whatever we want to call it, I think they're over.
Cattiness.
Yeah. I think they're just over. I think that we are coming with, hopefully our generation, especially, Michelle, I think we are trying to fight towards that goal of saying, no, we're not going to do that. We are actually going to support each other. We are going to fix each other's crowns, and we're going to help each other, because together we are stronger than individually. So why would we ever isolate somebody or put them in the corner? So there are things that we look at it, and the online world doesn't make it easier because everybody has something to say and something not to say. But I just posted about this on my Facebook wall today, where I shared about rejection. And I went back to a quote from The Help, the movie and the book, The Help. I read a lot. And when the certain experience, I'm not going to dwell into it, but the certain rejection experience that happened to me when I first started my company. And I remember that quote came out, and the quote is, the book is The Help, and it says, every morning until you're dead in the ground, you're going to have to make this decision. You're going to have to ask yourself, am I going to believe what them fools have to say about me today?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to believe what those fools have to say about me today? No, I'm not. I'm good. I'm happy. I am very satisfied and confident with who I am as a person. So that's right.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing and a very freeing thing to get to a point where you don't care what others, but also still having enough self-awareness to hear what they're saying and take it like, is this something that I do need to grow? Is this an area that I need to grow in? Is this an area that I could possibly improve on? And then if going like, actually, I'm real good with this, and then just going on about your day.
And that's fine.
There's a beauty in that.
There is a beauty, yes. And, with the things that you guys are doing, and especially in the op, out the op, however you guys decide to live your career, whatever you want to do with it, just remember that at the end of the day, you kind of also need to be happy. So if you are stuck in a position, or if you are stuck in doing something that truly is not bringing you joy and you hate it every single day, know that there is a way out. And know that there are ways for you to do it. And you being a clinician is a superpower. I'm living it. I've been through it. Like I said, I have people who reach out to me just as of yesterday because they wanted me to speak to their study club just because I'm a clinician who also happens to have something else on the plate. Own that power, own that fact that you are a clinician. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a great pivot into one of the things that I didn't realize early on in my clinical career were my strengths and the things that I had this propensity to be good at, and also the things that really were my drivers. And I'm very thankful for the many conferences that I've gone to, like the one with you and even though I did my strength finders way back in my master's program, I did it again about 10 years later with you guys. I've also done like the TTI assessment with Custom Dental Solutions, where they do the disc and the driving forces. And, there was a lot of my career that I was really unhappy because I wasn't leaning into my strengths. I was seeing my and not that they're weaknesses, they're just strengths that are lower down, right? Like that's the point of the book, but seeing the things that I wasn't super strong at and being upset about that, or not understanding what my driving forces were as a clinician and as a person. And so I would get really frustrated with the business side of dentistry. And listen, I get it. Like if y'all listen to this podcast, you've heard me grow in this. I get it. It's the nature of the beast, but I love public health. Like that's ultimately where I needed to be. But I also am really good at marketing, and I'm really good at one of my strengths is futuristic, it's learner, it's leader. And look, I have a podcast now where I teach and do all those things. So like, how does someone figure out what they're like? Do you have suggestions? Like, what are some stepping stones? So people right now, maybe they're just like, chasing their tail and can't see what they're actually good at. Where do they start? How do they get going?
Well, I mean, clearly any of those tests are a great way for you to start to just get the basics done. But I do think I'm an experienced person. I think you have to live it to really understand what you're good at and what you're not. To be honest with you, it's a sink or swim kind of situation. If you do feel like you want to try something, go for it. Go for it. I just, write down on a paper saying that there's a girl out there who talked about shitting toothbrushes, who gets paid a lot of money to speak right now and talk about marketing. If you need that to self-affirmation, totally feel free to do that. But I think it's just sink or swim situation where you just have to kind of live it. The way I look at my strengths are, I kind of reverse engineer it. So for example, I kind of take a look at it and say, what do I enjoy doing? I don't really go to my strengths. I go to what do I enjoy doing? So let's say, for example, I love to cook. I enjoy cooking. Great. So if I enjoy cooking, can I take that, what I enjoy, and because I already enjoy it, I know that I'm going to spend time on it. I know that I'm going to be invested in it. I know that I'm going to go to the organic store and get the ingredients I want. And I'm going to get the best dish so I can take a photo, whatever, right? I know I'm going to spend time on it. So if I'm already enjoying this, that means that I'm invested in it already. Now, how do I take that one thing, for example, cooking, and start making money off of it? Maybe I can create a YouTube channel. Maybe I can start giving out recipes. Maybe I can start sharing stuff online. Maybe I can do a Pinterest board. Maybe I can do a dinner. Maybe I can host dinner parties. Maybe I can cater a dinner party, right? And then the ideas start flowing. But I always kind of like to go back to a simple fact of saying, what do I enjoy doing? And then use that and convert that into my strength, because then that means that every morning when I wake up, I'm going to be happy about what I'm doing and I care about it enough. That's just the way I have done it. That's just the way that I function around it. And I think it's just something that motivates me every day, because I absolutely love marketing. I love marketing. I love what I do. I spend 2 hours just reading about things on a daily basis, on how the logarithms are changing and this is happening and how do I do this and what is this and what is that. So I know that I'm going to be good at that because I already do it.
That's so true. And even my head is going like, okay, so if you like dentistry and you like cooking, like, could you come up with amazing recipes that are like healthy for your gut and healthy for your teeth and healthy for like children and like replacements, and like put that in a newsletter and send that out to people? And like, man, you can really start to combine all the great knowledge and the love of, like you said, cooking and stuff. I think that, or maybe you just don't like dentistry anymore. You just want to go cook, and that's fine too. That's fine too.
Yeah, I think finding that joy is really important. And because then that way you will at least, even if you decide to move on from the future, you will look back at it and saying, you know what, that was fun. I got to make a career out of something that I would be doing anyways.
Yeah. So let's say we have some people that are, new, this 2020, even though it's kind of a shit show, I feel like it's very different than 2008. Because in 2008, like people were losing now granted, don't get me wrong, people are losing their jobs and stuff. But in 2008, it was a very different vibe of like, I mean, there might have been 4 hygienists and they got cut back to 1, and you had 1 hygienist trying to see all these dang patients and you couldn't find a job to save your soul. Right now, in my area, at least, this is what I'm experiencing, is like, people are like, when else can you work? Like, we are desperate for clinicians. So to circle back to like, if they're graduating, but maybe they're caretakers and they don't really want to go into clinical dental hygiene right now. Like, I'm assuming maybe your book would be a good stepping stone, like reading something out, start reading and finding what piques your interest. And even though you might not have a ton of clinical knowledge, like, how could you utilize what you do know? Maybe you're a little 23-year-old Instagrammer. Use that and get started.
Well, actually, it's interesting that you say that, because I have had quite a few people reach out trying to pivot or find something, just because, like you said, their circumstances are such where they have to find doing things from home. So what I have actually started is it's not out public yet. When is this coming out, by the way? When is this launching?
Next week.
Okay. All right. So this is way too early. But what I do is I train people to become marketing managers. That's what I do. I'm a marketing coach. I'm a marketing strategist. So I have been doing a lot of that now, especially during this time where I am working with a lot of people who want to add marketing manager as one of their things that they do. So if you are somebody who's looking out, feel free to reach out. I can give you the details about it. I'm making it into a school, which will be a lot more virtual and easier by January. But right now there is that, so that's obviously there. Yeah, you can read different books, see what piques your interest. But like I said, if you look at what you do every day, so I know that if you're home, you're still doing something. There is something that you have to be doing, right? Like, even if it's you watching TV all day, do a podcast or a vlog about all the TV shows and make fun about it, right? Like, what is it that you're doing every day right now at your house while you are staying in and not going out, or whatever it is? Maybe you love to go shop. Okay, but maybe you're shopping online. Then create a blog about the best deals out there for different things that people can shop for. Whatever you enjoy doing, like I keep saying, you can make that into a career. That's how the internet works. That's how it's so easy now, because that's how it works. All you need is your phone and you can go live anywhere you want, right? So maybe you're doing workouts every day. Okay, then start talking about working out. Start doing that. Whatever it is, do that. And then if you still want to get in a practice, a dental practice per se, just what I did was, like I said, I was doing everything and I started taking over their marketing. So just shoot them an email, shoot them a message and say, hey guys, I was just listening to Minal, and Minal said that currently over 75% of Americans are on social media. 75% of Americans are on social media. And there is over 1 billion daily active users on Facebook, 1 billion daily active users on Facebook. So I know it's really powerful. I'm on Facebook all the time. I'm on Instagram all the time. I would love for our practice to get a little bit of more momentum on social media. I can do that from home. I would love to see how we can do this for the practice.
I love that. That's a great point. Like, find what you're doing already every day. God, 75%. And that's so many. And so many. So how do people find you, find your book, find more information, get some tips? What do they do for that?
Well, minalsampat.com. So I know my name's a little weird. So it's MINALSAMPAT, minalsampat.com. You can go on there. There is a bunch of stuff. You can reach me at info@minalsampat.com. My book is on Amazon. So if you just put on Amazon, put my name, it's called Why Your Marketing is Killing Your Business. So if it's funny, because I'm a marketing person telling you why your marketing is killing your business, but now you get it because you're a clinician. So you understand why a lot of marketing is killing a lot of different practices. But yeah, so there is different ways you can reach out. And the best way really to reach out is just send me a friend request on Facebook. I'm super active there. That's how you directly get in touch with me. So just Minal Sampat. This comes out next week. My profile photo is in a great dress. That's the Minal Sampat you want. Let's be friends. Let's connect.
Nice. And then you also have a great Facebook page, yeah?
Yes. I have a Facebook group. I have a Facebook page. I mean, I am in marketing, so it will be sad if I don't.
You got it all.
So I have to do it. But yeah, if you just join me, send me a friend request with Minal Sampat, you can access all of that stuff from there. So.
And hopefully one day, maybe you could take a course live or something one day in the future. So any parting words, any thoughts for somebody that needs the final motivating words to get going?
And when I was in college, I was deciding between going into dentistry or business. So I actually studied communication and biology. And communication was, PR, marketing, all that stuff. And then bio was clearly for pre-dental. And I was very unsure of which direction I had to go in. And that's not who I am as a person. Usually I'm I make decisions very quickly. I shop within 5 minutes. I know what I want. I get it. So the fact that I did not know was a very big deal to me. And I did not know how to manifest what I needed to do. So I went to a college counselor, like a counselor at Rutgers. And she told me something which I carry on with me so far. And she said that, I don't know if you believe in faith, but if you think you want to do something, you are already born with the power to do so. So anybody who's listening who wants to take that jump, if you think you want to do something, you're already born with the power to do so. The only one stopping you is you.
Now that's a way to end an interview. That's great. Well, Minal, thank you so much for your time, your guidance, your information. Definitely check out Minal's Facebook page and get her book off of Amazon. Just so great to have you on finally. And hopefully we can see each other again in real life.
Yes. No, thank you for having me. I'm sorry it became a philosophical episode, but you go where it takes you.
No, gosh, I live for those. I love it. It's so good. And I mean, I think that that's a big part of like making a transition, and you got to deal with some of this inner work, right? And you got to really kind of think and ponder on some things, because anything that's super easy, I mean, we'd all just be doing it, right? Like, isn't that what they all say?
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for having me on here. And like I said, yeah, feel free to reach out, guys. I'm a very casual, reachable, relatable person. So shoot me a message, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome. Thank you. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this series. Thank you to Minal for coming on. Also, the previous episodes with Ann Duffy and Jasmine Haley, they were fantastic. Any thoughts, Andrew, as we close out this series?
You know, Ocean's 11 holds up.
What?
Oh, is that not what you're looking for? You're looking for dental? Okay.
In what way does it hold up? I mean, just robbing a Vegas hotel or a Vegas casino?
I mean, robbing the rich.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm Robin Hood, but like, I like the idea of Robin Hood in general, but never actually that thievery. But I was just saying.
But we also, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Let me tell you, Clooney, Brad Pitt, they hold up back then. That was in their prime. They're good looking people.
Very good.
Julia Roberts, though, steals the show.
Oh, yeah. She's such a beauty. She's a beaut. Also, Dexter holds up.
Dexter!
Our favorite.
Yes. I'm very happy with the excitement that you had from that one little text. I don't think I've ever seen you so excited through texts before.
So if y'all don't know what we're talking about, Andrew, I woke up to a text that was like, Dexter's coming out with another season. I feel like we should have just a little watch party.
We should. From what I understand, it's a 10-part, I don't know if it's 10-part miniseries or whatever, but the cast wouldn't come back unless it was like the perfect show. Like there's lots of rewrites and things like that to make it like good enough to come back. I'm just saying the last season was very upsetting. And so I'm glad they at least weren't coming back. It was upsetting. It was a perfect ending.
No, it was such a stupid ending.
It was great. It tied up everything.
Not blonde chick annoyed the crap out of me. Anyway, the podcast, this is a dental podcast. You might not care, but I just really did not enjoy.
Look, yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, I didn't like Dexter being romantically involved with anybody. I'm like, you kill bad people. Let's focus on that.
So your issue is that he's too distracted to kill more bad people. That's what your issue is?
Maybe.
You're not
definitely
your body count is not high enough, Dexter. You need to up that a little bit.
He's letting people go. He's getting the softer side. They end up killing Rita. Like it's like, listen, come on. We kill bad people, Dexter. This is what we do.
No, I mean, okay.
And you have amazing infection control and PPE. So I just needed him to.
I would love to see if that holds up.
Oh gosh.
For this next one.
Let's see. We'll see. They'll all be wearing masks.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, this has been a long intro and outro.
Sorry, everyone.
Hopefully you enjoyed our Dexter rant. And we also hope that everybody has a great week. And if you want to find out more, hear more things, you can always go to a taleof2hygienists.com and subscribe to our newsletter. That's where you can access a lot of show notes and get our CE credit that you can get for most episodes. Thanks to PDT, our buddies over at Paradise Dental Technologies. Thank you for sponsoring the podcast. So sign up and then also find us on social media because that's where we post a lot of things, a lot of giveaways, all kinds of stuff. So hopefully you will be following us on Instagram, Facebook, all the socials. And then head over to a taleof2hygienists.com for all kinds of content over there. Yeah?
Yeah. That's a good job wrapping that up.
All right. Well, hope everybody has a fabulous week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.